Hey guys, it's Joshua. In today's tutorial, we're going to be showing you how to do this moving camo from like Black Ops and the new Call of Duties. And this is what it looks like. Alright, as you can see in that animation, there's some moving camos. And we got some electricity, fire, dark matter looking, and just anything you can think of. You can put glass or clouds. So all this is just some fractal noise and some bump maps, and we're using the gun blue. If you look at the original footage, we're using this blue as a green screen or a blue screen, and then we're inverting it so that we're only using that. So if we unsole, and this is actually procedure, so you can see that there's the dark matter camo, and if you go down to purple, well, this will all make sense in a second. Fractal. Then we could turn off the dark matter and we could turn on, say, the fire. Go back to the main. And it'll change from that. And now you'll have this gun with fire inside of it. So you could pretty much put anything, update it pretty much real time. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So what we're going to do is drop the footage in a new comp. I'm going to unlock that. So there we go. Now you can see this is just the gun with the thing. The gun doesn't have to be blue. I just chose a blue because it's a little bit easier to key, but you can have an orange gun or any other color and use that as a key. What we're going to do is actually track it. So if you right click, come up to camera track, go to advanced and detail analyst. This is so it gets a better track, but it just takes a little bit longer. Alright, after your track is done, we're actually going to create a solid on top of the gun. You don't want to select points that aren't actually a point of the gun. You're trying to match the perspective of it. So you can either find a couple of them that match it, or you can just click and drag and create one. So I'm going to do that and create a solid. I'm going to rename this to matte gun. And from here, I'm actually going to come up to layer, solid settings. You don't have to change it to white. It's just, it makes it easier for knowing how mattes work. Is it click OK, and then we just want to cover as much as the gun as we can. So you can move this around. Don't try to move it in the Z space because that'll really mess up your perspective. But you don't want to also have stuff in the background. So I'm just scaling this up as much as I can without getting too much of the background in it. All right. So now you can see that this white box is covering this gun the whole time, which you might not understand, but the next step, if you duplicate the footage, put under that, you don't need the camera track, so you can turn that off, is you want to change the track matte to alpha matte. If you don't see this, just toggle the switches here, up here. And now it looks exactly the same, but if you solo it, it's just this. And this is just a way for me, because I also have blue in the background. So instead of using key light here, it won't affect this, because we have this masked out version of it. Alright, from here we're going to click on the footage. We can solo it. Click on the little dot there. And we're going to drop a key light. And what we're trying to do is key out the blue, but then invert it. So you click the eyedropper, click on the blue, and you can see it's black. If we change it to the final result to screen matte, you'll see it's black and that's white. We want the white, what's black now, to be white, to be black. Easiest way to do that is if you go to screen matte, go to clip white and bring it down, and then click black up, and then it'll switch. Alright, and then from here we're just trying to make as much as the blue white as possible. So you can adjust the white gain, and once you increase the clip black, you can see a part of the handle, so we don't want that. Bring that back down. And if you have little things like this, you can always mask them out, not too difficult. And then you can also change the green gain, whatnot. Alright, and once you find like a good matte that you like from here, alright, and if you have these little things here, the quickest way to get rid of them is you want to click the matte. And then you just want to get the pen tool by clicking G or coming up here. And you just want to create a little matte or a mask around it. and then go to M on the keyboard and change add to subtract, and it'll get rid of it. This should also be tracked to it. So now it'll just be gone. So you can do this quite a bit. You gotta fix up little spots or add little spots if you want, but it's pretty much the best key you can get is if you get one solid color like the blue and try to key with it. We're gonna unsolo this, click on the main footage, and I'm gonna change it from screen matte to final result, and now you can see this gray color. If you solo it again, sorry, you can see that it's gray, and we don't want the gray, so you can change it to source, and then you'll get the blue. You don't actually need this, but if you want to have the blue background and like the fire overlaying it, you have to change it from soft color to source. So that is the gun matte. So what we want to do is duplicate the camera track and then click the 3 layers and unsolo that, and then we're going to pre-compose. We're going to name this gun matte. Just like that. If we solo it, it's just the blue. The next thing is we actually want to duplicate this and then change this to gun bump map. You don't actually need to duplicate this, but it's better to keep these layers separate just so it's easier to understand what is actually happening. The next step is we actually want to create the element we're adding onto it. So if you create a new solid, I'm going to name this dark matter. And from here, I'm going to actually drop a fractal noise. And I'm going to change this to dynamic twist. I will be recreating the dark matter. You can do anything you like with. You can play around with the fractal noise. You can have some Darien or anything you like. But for the dark matter, this is the settings I use for it. We're gonna scale it up. Gonna increase the contrast so there's more darker and then highlights. Then I want to drop the brightness just a little bit. Right, and then for evolution, I want to hold Alt. I'm gonna click on the little time watch and then type time. And then hold shift and press the 8 key on your keyboard and then type in 250. And this just adds like an animation to the fractal noise using an expression. We can minimize that. From here, I want to toggle the switches so I can see it's a 3D layer. And I want to hide it, click the main footage, click the camera track, and then do the same thing where you create the null or create the solid. I just forgot to create the null, but create a null, and this is a null that's stuck to the gun. So I'm going to turn the dark matter back on. We're going to make it a 3D layer, grab the pickwick, hold shift, and then click on the track null. So now we have this little thing tracked to it. From here, we're just going to scale and just kind of scale it up. You don't want to distort it, you can just scale it up a lot. Doesn't need to be perfect because we're going to be using an alpha matte anyway, so it takes the shape of the gun. But there's that. And then we want to duplicate the camera again. Hold Control, click dark matter and track null. Right click, pre-compose, and we're going to name this fractal. And as you can see, this is tracked to the footage. So you want to grab it, bring it under the gun matte, turn off the gun bump map, and the matte. And we're going to toggle the switches once more, change the fractal to alpha matte so it takes the shape of the gun. So now we have this fractal noise animating inside the gun and it's tracked to it. Like that. From there, we want to jump back into the fractal so we can actually adjust it a bit. So I'm going to add a VC color vibrance, which is a free plugin from Video Copilot, but highly recommend downloading it. I'm going to change the color to blue. And you can change the brightness, luminance, vibrance. I wouldn't worry about too much about the colors because you will be changing them later on. I'm going to change this to purple. Change the transfer mode to add. And then I want to come over to the evolution options and change the seed so that this is not in the same spot the other one is. And then you can also change the size Scale this one maybe up a bit more. Change this one down. If we jump back, you can see that the camo is there. But you can kind of see how it's just overlaying the gun and doesn't look too real. The best way to actually make this look real is if we go to the fractal that we just had, type in CC glass. It'll make this kind of weird object, but if we come to surface, change it from fractal to the gun bump map, it's going to take the shape of the actual gun. So from here, we're going to turn down the softness, so let's put it at 1. And now you can see that it's got the little ridges of the gun and everything you need from it. And I found you can play with these settings as much as you want. If you bring the softness down to 0, it kind of looks like grainy. You can bring this up so it looks a bit softer. But I found if you do 1, the height around 30-ish, and the displacement either between 150 and 200, it adds like a nice little glassy edge to it. But like I said, you can change the height to make the displacement a bit more, change the softness so it's a bit softer obviously, but I'm gonna go with 130 and 200. You could change the lighting if you want. This is where the specular highlights are, so we turn up the specular all the way. You can see in these little ridges there's nothing there now, but if we turn it up all the way, they're filled with light, or a bit of light. So it's like a before and after kind of thing. So it's up to you. I keep these settings pretty much the same because you don't really need to adjust them. We're just using it for a bump map, but not actually a renderer. The next step is we actually want to add like the glow and the making this look a little bit better. So if you click the fractal, gun mat, and the bump mat, by holding shift you can click all 3 of them. Right click, pre-compose, so I'm going to call this texture. And this is where you want to add the glow. You can also change the transfer mode. If you like, we could switch, I guess that was the right one. You can switch this to like add, so it looks a little bit more luminant. But I'm going to keep it on normal. And here you can add anything, so I'm going to add a CC radial blur, radial fast blur. And this, I think, just adds like a little bit of like variation to it. If you add like 1 or 2, it just makes it pop just a little bit more. Or you can change it to 1. 1's just a little bit subtle. And then you can add a glow. I found the glow, if you do keep it on original, you'll get this hard black line. So if you increase the radius and then bring this down, you'll get this really dark black line around it, or dark glow. So I found the best way to do it is, actually I'm going to reset it, change it from original colors to A and B. You won't get as much of the glow, but from here you can change like the threshold, increase the radius, and it'll keep more of the colors that are actually in it. You can increase the intensity or anything like that. So you don't want it to be shining too much because you do want it to kind of blend in with your scene, but this is what I chose. What also helps too is if you are in 32-bit, so if you hold Alt and like change through it until it says 32, this just has more color space and the glow looks a lot better in it. As you can see too, in the example I had these orange spots covered out too. That's exactly what we did in the beginning, but just instead of with the purple or the blue, we're going to do it with the orange. You just duplicate it, select the orange, key it out, and then use that as the matte. So instead of this being blue, you would duplicate it and then change the blue to like the yellow. I'm not going to do that because I'm just showing this for a tutorial, so it's just the actual blue. But that is how you get the orange. You just do the exact same thing, but you select the orange, and then you can have a texture and then the dark matte. But if you want to adjust the colors, fine. You can lock this. I'm going to turn this one off. Go into texture, go to fractal, and then you want to grab this one, drag it to the side here so we can see the texture and what it looks like. And then from here, you can pretty much do anything. So you can add these fires. Turn off the fractal. And the reason you see the blue is because it's an alpha chat. So if you don't want that, you can create a solid. And then drop the solid underneath it. And then drop the solid underneath it. And then you'll see the fire on top of the solid. But I kind of like with the fire with the actual main color of the gun. But you want to make sure you hold shift, both of them. Toggle switches, make it a 3D layer. And then grab the Pickwick, hold shift, and click one of the dark matter ones. So then it's tracked to the movement again, so it's not moving around. But yeah, that's how you change the fire, and it does match the gun as well. So I'll go back to my main example. If I go to purple, fractal noise. For the lightning, all I did was, if I solo it, is I created one lightning. Unlock this one. Go to main. Gonna lock this layer. Do the whole thing again, purple, fractal noise. You can kind of see like the blues in there. The reason it's not that bright is because you actually need a background when you do lightning. So if I put this background out, which is a fractal noise, it adds like a cloudy thing to it. Then you could turn on all your lightnings again. And yeah. So for the lightning, most of them I just had anywhere. If you have an anywhere, it just kind of moves around from one point in just random directions. It's like that. Dark matter, it's this fractal noise. Fire, it's a fire, but you can do this one, which is just a fractal noise again, but it's like an orange fiery color. But the possibilities are endless. Like you can then add say a mosaic. It'll change it into cubes, and then you can change this to like 50 and 50. Oh, 50 and 50. And now your gun will have like pixels kind of going on it. But yeah, that's pretty much this tutorial. It's a pretty quick one, but pretty cool. And you can add as many effects, any kind of effects you want, and make it look amazing. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you're new.